Welcome everyone to another Regardless webinar. We are here today to talk questions and answers regarding the recent draft on deadlines deferral as well as the reorganization of the relevant ministry in Ukraine. My name is Stano Gajdos, and I'm joined here by none other than our Regardless Ukraine team leader, Inessa Kiristaeva. Welcome,
Hello,
Inessa.
everybody.
And we would like to use this session to address the recent updates to Ukraine Reach or their proposals, and as well as the information shared by the ministry last week. From this webinar, or this webinar will be dissected into two halves. The first half will be the presentation of Inessa, and the second half, which we believe will prove most fruitful for you, will be the Q&A. From this webinar, you'll receive the recording. You will find it later on our YouTube as well as other webinars. I believe this is our fifth Ukraine public webinar, so it's not our first rodeo, but still we are still learning together with you. If you find anything we can improve, please do not hesitate to let us know. Together with the recording as a follow-up after this webinar, you'll also receive the slides from the presentation, so don't worry, you won't miss any relevant materials. Regarding the Q&A, which is something I always miss at the start of the webinars, please put your questions into the Q&A interface. It's down below the screen. There's a little Q&A icon. If you cannot find it, put them in chat. I think I should be able to manage. I should be able to manage transferring them from chat to the presentation while Inessa is talking. We'll also open your mics if you want to, but more on this in the Q&A section. I hope I covered all, but with it's like my final goodbye for a time. I would like to invite you to PCMC, which is an event we hold in April. I actually didn't put a slide here, but I will link it in chat in a second once I give word to Inessa. So Inessa, the floor is yours. Good luck.
Thank you, Stana, very much. I think I will catch up with PCMC within my presentation, so no worries. So good morning, good afternoon, whatever you have now. We are here in Prague. We have a wonderful winter day full of snow, and we are really very excited to have you here. And thank you very much for attending. I saw quite a decent number of attendees, which really makes me understand that the topic that we are offering have interest from the audience. But today I am speaking here on behalf of whole our Ukrainian Regardless team. Half of us are located in Ukraine and half of us here in Prague in Czech Republic, which allows us to give information and cooperation between Europe and Ukraine, which is very important, also in the framework of REACH regulation, because as you know, Ukraine implemented REACH and CLP regulation aiming to be integrated into European environment. But before I start with my presentation, where I will give the main principles of Ukrainian REACH and also emphasize what business should do now to stay compliant, I want to ask you, how are you already familiarized with Ukrainian REACH and CLP regulation in Ukraine? Please answer our question here in the poll. And this will give me some information on the level of knowledge of the audience. So I will not go into the details if you know them already, and I will just focus on the things that are more important and more interesting for you. So just a few seconds to give the answers.
Do you want to share the results with the audience as well?
Oh, no, I think it's okay. I can tell. So as I see that you know the main principles, but you still feel that you have the gaps. This is half, almost half of audience, and 15% know all there is to know. So there is no one who hear about Ukrainian reach and CLP for the first time. So I will not really stop on the things that we already discussed, and you also can look at them at our YouTube webinars. So let's start with the topics which will be relevant. But of course, I can't miss that. How we come, why we speak about it today. In Ukraine, the main chemical law was changed in June 2024, and within this law, new technical regulations was implemented by the Cabinet of Ministers. And it's two technical regulations, so-called Ukrainian REACH, which came into force in January 2025, and it's Ukrainian CLP, which came into force in November 2024. And from January 2025, the first transitional phase of registration came. It's pre-registration, and the main principle, which we all know from Europe, no data, no market, was implemented. So we have to continue exporting or to continue placing chemicals on the Ukrainian market. They should be pre-registered till January 2026 based on the legal deadlines, or maybe further, and we speak about it later. So those are the timelines which we know and which are legal, and based on that, in January 2026, pre-registration should be finalized. Substances, CMRs, and the aquatic toxic substances in the tonnage 100 tons per year should be registered already. The first registration deadline for the biggest tonnage band should be in October 2026, and further on 2028 and 2030. And when we look at it and when we know the practices and the reality, those dates are not realistic. Absolutely not. The system is not ready for that. There is no IT system implemented. I will speak about it a little bit later in more details, but we know that these deadlines will be postponed. So what are the key facts about the current status of Ukrainian REACH and CLP implementation? So as you know, Ukrainian chemical legislation closely mirrors regulation in Europe, REACH and CLP. And what we know now that there are no any plans that it will be cancelled or changed, or some new chemical regulation policy will be in place. So this is the policy that Ukraine is focusing on and aiming to fulfill. The competent authority, which was nominated till July 2025, that was the Ministry of Environmental Protection, was reorganized. And now the tasks related to the chemical safety are covered by the new ministry, and it's called Ministry of Economy, Environment and Agriculture of Ukraine. Allow me to offer some abbreviation, so MEEA. And this will be the central body which will be responsible for the chemical safety and chemical product management. So reorganization is still in process. It's not finalized. The team is not fully gathered. It's still a question how it will turn on, but the process is going. So what we were also expected during pre-registration, that was the formation of the state register. So this, which was called System of Ensuring Chemical Safety, this is not developed yet. So it's not started. There is nothing about this register yet. As I mentioned before, there is no IT system in place. But in May, I think the two forms was created, two forms for pre-registration and for the CLP notification. They were created and they were placed on the website of the ministry. Interesting that those forms are still available on the same site of the Ministry of Environmental Protection. So on the website of the former competent authority. Later, I will speak about the forms and I will provide also with the link where you can find these forms. From beginning of November, there are two new email addresses where these forms should be submitted. So it's reach@me.gov.ur and clp@me.gov.ur. Those are the new emails which start to, as I said, functioning from the 1st of November. Due to the ongoing restructuring of the competent authority and due to the preparing of the team of the competent authority, the response times are currently quite long because all the forms are verified manually by one person. So you can really expect long time of the verification of your forms. But the new ministry already taken steps to postpone the deadlines because, as you know, and they also understand that it's not realistic to fulfill the registration deadlines. So they are applying they suggested the draft of the new regulation, which will postpone the deadlines. On the QR code on this slide, you can go to the link where you will find all the relevant draft documents and read them. And also you can leave your comments if you agree or not and if you want to amend something. So this is this draft act to the Cabinet of Ministries. And currently this document passed already few stages of approval, and it's laying, let's say, on the last stage, as I called, on the table of the Prime Minister of Ukraine, waiting for the last signature, last approval. And as we learned from the ministry that this should be expected anytime within coming weeks. Okay, we just saw the, okay. So what are the new timelines which are proposed in this draft regulation? So we are here in the end of 2026, and the first postponement refers to the notification of the classification and labeling. It is supposed to be postponed for 6 months, which means from the 15 November to 15 May 2026. Then pre-registration deadline should be postponed to January 2027, which will give us another year, and it will give another year also to the competent authority to make the process smooth and like time effective. And then we have the first registration deadline, which will cover the substances CMRs and aquatics, so the more hazardous substances. They should be registered they should be registered in October 2028. And at a moment, then the substances in the biggest tonnage band should be registered 1st October 2029. The substances in tonnage band from 100 to 1,000 tons per year, 1st June 2031. And the smallest tonnage band from 1 to 100 tons per year, it's the 1st March 2033. So these are the deadlines which are proposed and expected to be approved. However, we do know the information that they can be changed. So we will keep you updated on that because we are in a constant, let's say, monitoring mode, checking what's going on and what are the new developments. And of course, we will know much more and more precise about the deadlines in April 2026, where we will have our conference in Prague, which is called Prague Chemicals Management Cruise. And we would be very happy if you could join us so we can discuss many, many very interesting topics, including Ukrainian REACH and the deadlines, which will be approved by that time for sure. So as I mentioned, Ukrainian REACH is the mirror of European REACH, but as all the mirrors and all the REACH-like regulations, they have some differences. There is very handy and very helpful annex number 18 to Ukrainian REACH, which outlines the correspondence of the articles between Ukrainian REACH and European REACH. I advise you to consult it because once you know the European REACH good, it will be more easy for you to navigate Ukrainian REACH. But the differences which I want to emphasize now, regulation text and practical guidance. We know that in Europe, ECA, on their website, they published the practical guidances. They have this access to the IT system and all this in English language. And in Ukrainian REACH, it's not existing yet. It's only Ukrainian language. However, the practical guidance are expected because the authority, the ministry, and also the ecological inspection of Ukraine planning to develop some practical guidances how to do the registration. The pre-registration, the transitional phase, which is now very, let's say, big subject of interest. There, of course, in Europe, pre-registration is already done. And in Ukraine, it will be prolonged till January 2027, as far as we know now. But definitely it will be prolonged from January 2026, which is a good news. So only representative appointment, this mechanism of the only representative concept is implemented in Ukrainian REACH, which really helpful and gives our non-Ukrainian suppliers freedom to stay compliant on the Ukrainian market. Registration system, as I mentioned, there is no IT system yet in Ukraine, system like Reach IT, or there is no Euclid implemented. However, I know also that Ukrainian authority having some negotiations with ECA, how much they can use the Reach IT facilities and Euclid database for the purposes of Ukrainian Reach. So that is the aim, to harmonize the technical side of the registration implementation. And but of course, everything will be in Ukrainian language. Regarding enforcement, as we know, in Europe, there are many countries, and all of them have a different approach how to implement enforcement. The national enforcement authorities also playing a big role. Here we're speaking about one country, one authority, and information on the laws, information on the possible enforcement is already known to customs. So they are really ready to enforce when they will know that it's a deadline for registration or its safety data sheet, which should be already provided. I should also mention that there is so-called ecological inspection of Ukraine, who is taking the role of enforcement body. They are not planning to really chase and punish those who are not compliant. They are more than on that. They want to train the inspectors, so they have very good intentions to make the enforcement motivating and make it European style, I would say like that. So safety data sheet, it's very similar document on the local language, so on Ukrainian language. Competent authority Ministry, currently it's Ministry of Economy, Environment and Agriculture of Ukraine, where currently only one person officially is working in this department. And as we learned that there is expected a further reorganization of ministry, so more changes to expect. And availability information of chemicals, the register of chemicals is not ready in Ukraine, and we know in Europe you can see on the dissemination portal or in the HEM ECA a lot of information about the registered substances. So speaking to business, where and what procedures now business should focus? Of course, it's pre-registration. Due to all the uncertainties and reorganization of the authorities, unavailability of IT system, just using the email address to submit the pre-registration, this process is very important to start as soon as possible because it really can take time. The safety data sheet, it's a document which is easy to control on the customs. This is a document which many of European companies very familiar with. It's very much similar to European safety data sheet. It needs to be localized to Ukrainian language and also some Ukrainian requirements, which are differs from Europe regarding the occupational exposure limits, for example. And the third procedure, which I suggest to focus on, is the CLP notification. Based on the regulation, this obligation lays on shoulders of Ukrainian-based companies, so it's importers, so it's your customers, which are placed in Ukraine. But this procedure can be supported by the suppliers because information which you submit for pre-registration and information that you submit for a CLP notification, more or less similar. And further on, I will show you these forms and I will give you more details on which information is needed to be submitted on that. So first we start with the Excel form for pre-registration. As I mentioned before, that the link to this form is on the website of the previous authority, so on the website of MEPR, Ministry of Environmental Protection. The link you can see on the slide, and the form consists of the 6 main sections. It's the first section dedicated to the entity, which is entity applicant. Then the second section dedicated to general identification of the chemical substance. Then it's complete identification of the chemical substance. And then you have to provide composition on the chemical substance. The nanoforms should be mentioned if there is any, and the tonnage and the deadlines. All information must be provided in Ukrainian language. The data that you should submit should be submitted to the extent which is known to applicant, and there is no requirement to provide any documentary confirmation. So like no analytical tests protocols need to be submitted. But at the same time, correct identification of the substance is critically important. And we know that these forms are really manually and in detail checked by the authority. And we know also the practice when these forms was returned back because there was not enough information on the identification of the substance. So let's go a little bit more in details to this form. It's quite colorful. You will see there are 5 different colors in this form. So white fields with fields that can be freely filled. The pink fields that where you selected the values from the drop-down list. The purple fields, it's the hyperlink into a file which must be located at the same folder as the form. I mean, when the form is sent to the ministry, it is sent in the archive folder, and all the documents which is linked to the to this form should be together. And gray fields, they are not it's not possible to fill them. So that depends what you choose in the pink fields. And also there is possibility to add another row if you want to add some more information, but please use wisely and only when it is necessary, because technically this can cause some technical problems to submit this form to the ministry. When the form is filled, it should be signed with a special state electronic signature of the director of the Ukrainian entity. So it's only representative. That's the case we will be considering. Or the director of Ukrainian company, which is importer. When submitting, all the folders should be archived and sent to the Ministry of Economy and Environment. And only Ukrainian entity can submit these forms. Let's look deeply at how this form look like. You see it on the slide. So we select the case that we are submitting information as the legal entity. And we are using the case when the legal entity situated outside Ukraine nominate the only representative in Ukraine. And we see that you have to fill the identification and the contact details of both Ukrainian only representative and non-Ukrainian supplier. And you have to submit and link the document which prove the appointment of the only representative by the non-Ukrainian supplier. Okay. The next section dedicated to the composition and identification of the substance. So you provide the CAS number, you fill the other identification that data including mass structural and molecular formulas and all additional information that you have about your substance. Then you have to select the type. It's very similar to European categorization of substances, is mono, multi, or UVCBs. And then if you have UVCB, you have to provide the complete description of origin and manufacturing process of the substance. So here you really have to be very careful of identification of the substance. Further on, you go more about the identification of composition. So its physical state, its degree of purity, what are the main components if the purity is not 99.9. All impurities, all the additives should be also put it into this form. Then further on, we go to the section dedicated to nanomaterials. So if you have nano form of the substance, it should be mentioned here. If not, then it will be all in gray and you don't have to do anything. And the last section, which is dedicated to tonnages and the registration deadlines. And this will be changed, of course, when finally the deadlines will be legally postponed. So once you enter the exact tonnage, which is calculated the same way as in Europe, that's the average for the last 3 years, then you will select the relevant deadline offered by the form. So that's how the form look like. If you will have any questions about it, please feel free to contact us. We will be really happy to attend, but they're really happy to assist you with that. But as for today, so what the pre-registration form, we had quite a few complaints about the macros allowance because of the safety systems on the in the business, say computer systems, the macros are not allowed, but this form is really require this. So we suggest to dedicate maybe, I don't know, one computer that you use to fill the form. The new email address that you have to submit this information is here. It's reach@mba.gov.ua. And please remember that these forms will be verified manually, and it really, really takes time. According to the legal text, within 3 days after submission, the pre-registration numbers should be assigned. Now, in practice, we experience 4 weeks and even more. Now we're still waiting for some. Pre-registration numbers are assigned within the normal just text in the email and the data of the pre-registration. So you are not getting any automatic confirmation or automatic receipt that you have pre-registered. So it's just an email. And there is no plans to automatize this at this moment. And when the pre-registration are done, then all substances should be included into the state register of chemical substances. And as we discussed before, there is no register yet. What you as a registrant should do after you obtain the pre-registration number, if we're speaking about the case with only representative, your only representative should provide with only representative declaration and the tonnage coverage certificate for the Ukrainian customers. That's what we do at Regardis Ukraine. And of course, we incorporate the pre-registration numbers. And be prepared to start, receive, and the lead registrant election agree on data sharing. So all this data sharing process is still in future. It's not visible now, but it will be there, that's for sure. Few words about safety data sheet. The obligation to provide safety data sheet is set in the section 4.167 of Ukrainian REACH, which have the similar obligation as in Europe, that the substances which are hazardous or the mixture is hazardous, then it should the safety data sheet should be provided, or it should be provided on the request of your customer. And the safety data sheet should be in the Ukrainian language, this will be the first document to be checked on the customs, because customs do know this document and they know that it should look different from what they used to have before the implementation of Ukrainian REACH. So it's called Passport Bezpečnosti, and it looks very much similar to European REACH, but a safety data sheet. CLP notification, few words about it. As I mentioned, CLP notification is obligation which lays on the shoulders of Ukrainian importers, so Ukrainian entities. And it should be, the deadline was 15 November 2025, and deadline is suggested to be postponed on 6 months. So those who are notified already, they are, let's say, happy. But those who didn't notify, they still have another 6 months to do that. And although it is obligation of Ukrainian entity, and I suppose we have majority here, the non-Ukrainian entities, we decide to show you also the form of CLP notification, because out of our experience, the supplier can be very helpful to support their Ukrainian customers. So it also have 5 sections, and legal entity should be like section dedicated to legal entity, 2 sections dedicated to chemical substance identification and chemical substance classification. Then the NELs and multiplying factors and labeling elements, all information in Ukrainian language. Most data filled by the selecting form list. So this form already connected to the CLP regulation, and it really make life a little bit easier. And again, this is also the form with macroses, and it should be allowed. So here on the slide, you can see how the identification of chemical substance section look like. You enter the substance name and number and the Annex 6 of CLP regulation, enter the substance name, enter a number in the classification label in the register, which is not created yet, but it will be created. The CAS number, so depending on situation, you fill the sections or you choose the relevant fields. Like here, it is not classified, so you choose that it's not classified. But This I will not stay longer on the CLP notification form because, as I mentioned, it's more relevant for Ukrainian companies. It's just for you to see that it's similar to pre-registration and it can be useful for you to help your customers in Europe, in Ukraine. So information about labeling and notification submission form should be submitted to the email CLP, me.gov.ua. The same, officially signed by Ukrainian entity. And they are also verified manually. And interesting thing that you are not getting any reply from that. So you send the email and there is no any reply or confirmation. So we recommend within your email sent request the read receipt at least to be sure that your submission form was accepted. So we come into the last few slides and it's like the roadmap, what to do. So of course, to stay compliant and safe with the chemicals on the Ukrainian market, you have to identify your substances portfolio. Then you have to choose which option you will use, the option of appoint your only representative and be the owner of registration and pre-registration, and then choose your customers in Ukraine. Or you can persuade your Ukrainian importer to register, to pre-register, and choose option 2. Then we suggest to submit pre-registration application as soon as possible. Pre-registration is free of charge. There is no any state fee for that. And once you pre-register, there is no any obligation to be followed by registration, but at least you will be compliant for some time. CLP notification, we see that's a good reason to support your Ukrainian importers. In case that you already submitted pre-registration and CLP notification to the previous authority, we suggest you to repeat the submission to the new email addresses just to be sure that they are not lost during the reorganization. And of course, registration deadlines will be significantly postponed, so there will be still time to prepare for the full registration. And the dates, exact dates, we know now what is suggested, but we don't know exactly how it will turn out. And I spoke about the options. If you want to control your customer selection, then use the only representative. If you want to minimize expenses, then and comfortable to share your composition with importers, act through your Ukrainian importers, but only representative is the way of being, let's say, giving you more freedom. The only disadvantage of it is that it's a little bit cost not effective. And the requirements to only representative is the same, are the same in Ukraine as we know in Europe. So it should be Ukrainian legal or physical entity, and it should have proper knowledge and experience working and with the information and of handling of chemicals. And I would just add one thing to this, that now taking into account the big changes and big reorganizations and not stable situation in Ukraine regarding the implementation of the technical regulations, your only representative really should have some, let's say, shorthand with the ministry, also with the ecological inspection. That's what actually we have, and that is very helpful for us so we can keep our customers up to date. And of course, I can't avoid that regarding Ukraine services, that we offer everything that I spoke about, and only representative services, pre-registration and co-registration, lead registrant role if you will choose this notification, and the safety data sheets. And we are the company which which is nice company. We have 20 experts and we provide this personalized attention and flexibility. So just don't hesitate, contact us. We will be really happy to help you. And if you want and if you need to find out more about Ukrainian reach or any other reach like regulation, we will be really, really happy to talk to you. So this is all I wanted to share within my presentation, but I'm really looking forward for your questions. So please, Stano, floor is yours now.
Thank you, thank you. As we try to be a, how to say, nice company. Just one quick note on this contact us topic. The easiest way to contact us, I deem, to be the contact us button on this website, or the one on the Ukrainian reach related website I linked above. But of course, you can also email us. That's perfectly fine as well. But I think the button will connect us the easiest way. It will make sure that we don't miss the email through spam or something like that. So let's move to the Q&A section. First of all, thank you very much, Inessa, for a presentation. You will find all the materials enclosed in the follow-up mailing after the event. It will take us usually 1 or 2 days to process the recording and put all the materials together. So you can expect it by the end of this week at the latest. If for any reason you don't receive them, do not hesitate to let me know, and we will provide. How will the Q&A work? I also already messaged this in chat to save some time, but in general, if you'd like to talk live, do not hesitate to raise your hand. I will allow you to turn your microphone on. The reason why you don't all have the microphones on right now is it would be chaos if we allowed that, despite the good intentions. If there's any more questions on how the Q&A will work, we can address them later, but for time constraints, I will skip this part. You aren't probably, this probably isn't your first Regardless webinar, so you probably know the gist. We will be trying to prioritize the live questions. The first question, however, comes from registrations. Jana asked if the deadlines for the deferral or the deferral of the deadlines is definitive. Will it change?
No.
Okay, so actually, I asked the opposite question. So the deadlines deferral isn't definitive.
Deferral, so the postponement of the deadlines is definitive because there is no other way. There is not
Yes.
possible to register anything till January 2026. So this will be postponed. It's not only certain which dates it will be.
Yes, it is not physically possible now for the deadlines to not be postponed without messing up a lot of the process, which is already going on. The next question comes from a live Q&A by Katya, who asked, would late pre-registration be possible?
Yes, late pre-registration also is possible. You have, I think, 6 months after the first placement of the product on the market, you have to pre-register. Of course, if the pre-registration phase still will be open, and like if you will, let's say like this. So if the January 2027 will be the deadline for pre-registration and you start your export after January 2027, then of course, there will be the requirement for inquiry and registration. But if the pre-registration is still there, then you can pre-register. Yeah. So it's before, it's before the first registration deadline.
I see. Let's move to another live question by Natalia. I hope I'm pronouncing correctly. Who mentioned that the copies of I'm now realizing that the way you worded it in the registration form is a bit different than in the Q&A, but let's see if we can align them. The copies of technical dossiers and safety reports for the products registered in EU cannot be obtained. That means that simplified procedure won't work. Let's first address the first part. So what you're saying here is that we cannot easily extract data from EU reach and just simply flip them to the Ukrainian one, right?
Yes, that is correct.
So the simplified procedure?
Simplified procedure is a myth.
Thank you.
Yes, simplified procedure. The only simplification is that the fee for registration will be a little bit lower for the substances which have already European registration. But technically, the process of registration and collecting the information will be even maybe more than when you're doing that for the first time, because you need to rework all the information from your Euclid registration dossier, from your CSR into Ukrainian language, and adapt it to the requirements of registration.
How about the monomers and ingredients from producers who don't have business in Ukraine?
Well, this case we also often meet here in Europe when European importers are getting polymers and the monomer suppliers are not interested in registering the monomers. So this will be the same case if you are at this Ukrainian company getting the polymers. There are possibilities to test the monomers inside the polymers and fulfill the registration obligations.
Yes.
For pre-registration, I just wanted that for monomers, for pre-registration, you don't have to submit the tests. So like it's a rather, let's say, easy procedure just to pre-register the monomers.
I see. In the Q&A, Natalia also amended this question by, do you see the necessity, do you see necessity, no, I'm sorry, do you see the amendments in the regulations to be made as necessity? I hope I'm wording this correctly. Yeah.
Well, what we heard from the ministry and from the interested parties in Ukraine, that yes, amendments to regulations will possibly come. If we speak about monomers and polymers, like personally, I don't see any necessity in the amendment of the regulation of Ukrainian REACH and requiring registration of monomers. But seeing how everything is done now, we of course expect that amendments of regulation will be made.
Yeah. Okay, Natalia, I hope we responded in full. If you have any follow-up questions, do not hesitate to leave them in chat or in Q&A. And let's move to another question by Katya, who asked if we can clarify the current deadlines for registration of very toxic and toxic to aquatic above 100 tons per annum.
So current deadline for registration of very toxic aquatic above 100 tons per year substances is January 2026, which is in 2 months. And the proposed postponement will be, so it will be the first deadline and that will be 2028.
Yes, I think so as well.
Yeah, 2028. So also the changes that before, they were different from the big astonishment, and that stays the same. But this will be postponed 2028 and registration 2030.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to another live question by Frank. Frank, is it possible that when an Ukraine located importer does the free pre-registration, that later on an only representative will do the full one?
Okay, well, that's the question about the roles under Ukrainian REACH, same as here in Europe. There are three possible roles. It's only representative, importer, or manufacturer. And if you want to change from importer to only representative, it's not possible. You can change from only representative to another only representative, and you can change from manufacturer to importer. So if the pre-registration will be on the name of importer, and then the same importer will take the role of only representative, let's say that you will have an appointment letter, then no, I still you cannot transfer that. I think I need to think about it, but you cannot transfer the registration from importer to only representative. Maybe some gaps or some legal tricks can be used here, but it's really, let's discuss it that case by case, and maybe we can find a way how to do it more efficient for you.
Mhm. Let's move to, I mean, we are still sort of like hovering around the simplified procedures. So let's move to the question by Kema. Is the simplified procedure for registration intended for lead registrations or lead dossiers only?
No, it is intended to all registration. So
Mm.
like all substances, all the registrants who have European registration, they have some, let's say, small benefits, as I said, regarding registration fee. And the lead registrations, of course, yeah, they will use the same data they use in Europe for that. But simplified registration, it's for everybody.
See. Another question we have here from registrations is by Sarah, who asked, how will joint registration submission work?
Mhm.
So as far as we know, there isn't a framework for that, right?
Yes, this is very good question and very easy answer. We don't know how it will work. We know how it is aimed to be. It should be same as in Europe. So it's data sharing and joining the submission and opting out only if there is like good reason for that. But we don't know how it will turn out in Ukraine, the joint registration submission. So we will keep you updated on that.
Mhm. Another great question with a very easy answer by Angela is, if the deadlines are postponed, when can we start pre-registering substances? There is not early enough. You can start with pre-registering. You can start now.
Yes, exactly. You can start now because you can wait for the answer from the ministry for more than a month. So you don't know how. And as I mentioned, new reorganization most probably will be there. So just don't wait until the better moment. Act now and to make sure that you are compliant.
Patricia asked, who should do the CLP notification? Can non-EU, not non-Ukrainian manufacturer do this?
Well, as I mentioned in my presentation, CLP notification is obligation of the Ukrainian importers and Ukrainian manufacturers. So like it's Ukrainian entities who should submit notification, but a non-Ukrainian supplier can be very helpful supporting Ukrainian importer.
Then Alexander asked, what are the registration and pre-registration processes? I believe this was covered in the presentation as well. Do you want to expand on anything?
Well, I think it was covered. So pre-registration process is submission of pre-registration form, and registration process supposed to be like in Europe, but we will wait for more clarification.
Okay. Let's move to Deferral. What will be required for the full registration? Probably meaning what documentation or what data provided.
Now in the legal text, it's pretty similar to European requirements, depending on the tonnage range. More substance, more tonnage, more requirements. So it's like Annex 6 to Annex 11, and it's physical chemicals properties, it's toxicological processes. So for full registration, you will need all that you needed for European registration.
Pretty similar in that regard. We will touch upon this probably in the next question. Actually, no. Next question is by Marta, who asked live right now. Does it mean that the pre-registrants, for example, importers, will be legally obliged to perform the normal registration when the deadline will be met?
Pre-registration does not obligate the registrant to follow up with registration because like business plans can change and you don't need this registration. But if you still need your substance or your chemical products on the market, yes, of course, you have to perform the normal registration before the deadline will come.
Yes, so pre-registration doesn't disown you from registration, or doesn't prevent you from needing to go through the registration process itself. Javier asked, is the pre-registration system fully implemented? Depends on what you mean by fully. It is in works, but yeah, there is no IT system, so it is processed manually. Yeah, well, what is your take on this, Inessa?
I would say that there was a period when there was no email which were working for that, but now we know that from the 1st of November, the email where you can send your registration form is working and it is received by the ministry. So I would say that pre-registration is fully implemented.
Yeah. Well, this is a phrasing issue or like definition issue. So, what are the obligations depending on the role? Uh, I believe this was also covered, but maybe it's good to reiterate.
Okay, so if you are a non-Ukrainian manufacturer, you can fulfill all the obligations under Ukrainian reach through your only representative or with your importers in Ukraine. There are some pros and cons for that. Then importers in Ukraine and manufacturers in Ukraine have the same obligations to register the substances. So it's roles are the obligations are the same for all three roles. Just another nice and magic possibility for non-Ukrainian suppliers to act through only representative.
We are slowly nearing the end, but I would still like to use this space for a question which really caught our eye, and we are not exactly sure we are understanding it precisely. However, Alina is asking for the experience of companies who are already engaged in training. So we believe the training refers to the webinar itself. So is there anyone here who would like to share their experience with Ukrainian Reach or maybe any issues they faced? Um, you can just raise your hand and we can give you the microphone. So maybe we can talk on a specific case by case basis. If not, we all also have some experience from of our own to share. And in general, it can be summed up to it takes time.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It takes time. It takes some clarification for the data collection because identification of substance should be a little bit more than we used to here in Europe. And it takes time because of technical issues, filling the forms, signing with electronic signature, submitting it through the email, then make sure that they receive it. And then if you are not getting the answer within 2, 3 weeks, try to contact them again, send the formal letters or requests if they receive our submission and when we can expect the answer. So these are our experience that each pre-registration form needs a lot of attention from the very beginning till the very end of getting the pre-registration number. And which is also maybe interesting that it is one substance, one pre-registration form. If you have 10 substances or we have customers with 30 substances, we have to fill each substance per one form. We can't put them all in bulk in one. And it's actually an Excel table, yeah? So like it could be maybe simpler to put all the substances in one, but no, it's like one substance, one form. So this is our experience, and we are still expecting the answers from the ministry, and it's already 8 weeks. So indeed, it really, really takes time. Stano was completely correct on saying
You,
that.
you mentioned there is one person processing all
Yes,
pre-registrations.
yes. At this moment, it's like a little bit inside information. It's just one person working in the department, and he's very productive to be one doing that. But yeah, that is the reality now.
Yeah. Also, there is, since this is all manual, there is no validation assistant as in Euclid or something like that. So it's manual, so it takes time. With this, I believe we are wrapping up. Oh, actually, there's one more question by Katya, and I will put it on screen in just a second once I read it. Katya asked, if the substances are coming from different manufacturing locations, do they require a different pre-registration form? in case of only representative appointment. So the question is if the same substance is coming from different manufacturers.
Yes, yes, it's like this. One manufacturer can appoint one only representative. So if the substance coming from different manufacturers, it should be different appointment to the only representative. I mean, only representative can be the same, but if the registrant in this case, it's the pair of manufacturer and only representative. And maybe was to mention also that only representative can be appointed by manufacturer or mixture formulator. Like distributors, traders, they are not really entitled to nominate an only representative.
Okay. Okay.
That's
Thank you, Katya, very much. Regarding feedback, I almost forgot. If you would take a minute, yes, we are nearing the end of the webinar, as you probably can tell. If you can take a minute and fill out our feedback form, which I'm now linking in the chat, it will help us greatly. It will help us greatly if you could, yes, provide feedback for the webinar. I'm sorry, I got lost in my own thoughts for a second. Thank you everyone for joining the webinar. Thank you, Anessa, for a great presentation and a wonderful discussion. Thank you to everyone who provided their questions or their insights. Should you have any insights to be shared with the world, please let us know or to be shared with us. We are always happy to discuss anything new regarding the developments. We'll be monitoring the developments as well. And if you want to join a Ukrainian session, we are holding one or hosting one in 2 days time with Oksana Labinska and Irina Berenzo. I always forget her surname. But if you prefer Ukrainian, November 27th will be your day. Yes, so thank you everyone for joining us and see you in the future.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Looking forward to hear from you.
Good luck.